Welcome to another epic Yu-Gi-Oh deck guide. Today, we're diving into one of the most toxic yet powerful fusion decks in the game, none other than the Predaplant. Predaplant is a powerful lineup of dark plant monsters that specialize in fusion summoning by using both your monsters and your opponents. It applies Predacounters to enemy monsters, reducing their levels and making them vulnerable to Predaplant effects. The deck swarms the board, controls the opponent, and sets up scary boss monsters all in one go. So if you're looking for a deck that fusion summons like crazy and shuts down your opponent's monsters at the same time, Predaplant is the deck for you. First, let's start breaking down the monster lineup. Afreeze Scorpio is your main combo starter and one of the best normal summons in the deck. It lets you send any monster from your hand to the GY to special summon a Predaplant from your deck, usually Darlingtonia Cobra, to search your fusion spells. This effect sets up full combos and helps you load the graveyard for later plays. Darlingtonia Cobra is your fusion spell searcher, but only if it's special summoned by a Predaplant effect. It lets you search any polymerization or fusion spell, like instant fusion or super polymerization, but can only activate once per duel. Best summoned through Scorpio or Ambulomalides for early access to your fusion cards. Sundu is your go-to fusion tool and board breaker. It can fuse using itself and monsters with Predacounters on them, even on your opponent's side, and treats those monsters as dark for fusion. It's a sneaky way to break boards or go into big fusion bosses like Dragostapelia. Lone Fire Blossom is your best non-Predaplant extender. It lets you tribute any plant to special summon another plant from your deck, including Afreeze Scorpio or Biblisp, and it's only a soft once per turn, so you can activate multiple copies. It's also a solid Ash Blossom bait when paired with Predapractice, letting you dodge hand traps before your real plays begin. Biblisp is your best searcher and extender rolled into one. Whenever it's sent to the GY, by any means, it lets you search any Predaplant monster from your deck. It can also special summon itself from the GY if there's a Predacounter on the field, giving you free fusion fodder or link material. Saracenian is your toolbox searcher for any Predap card, not just monsters. If it leaves the field by card effect or battle, it searches any Predap card, including Predaprime Fusion or Predapractice. It also has two bonus effects. It can special summon itself from hand when your opponent declares a direct attack and destroy any monster it battles, not once per turn. Bufollicula is your best pendulum fusion enabler and a strong combo piece. It lets you fusion summon while in the pendulum zone and adds a face-up Predaplant pendulum from the extra deck to your hand when used as fusion material unless it was banished. Pairs perfectly with Triantis to create a loop of pendulum summon, fuse, and recycle. Triantis is your fusion loop piece and counter spreader. It lets you use your pendulum scales as fusion material, and when used as fusion material, it places Predacounters on either field equal to your monster count. This makes it easy to activate effects like Sundu or set up for Dragostapelia. Spider Orchid lets you discard a plant during the end phase to search any plant monster, but that rarely comes up. More importantly, its pendulum effect pops a face-up spell trap except field spells on either side of the field the turn it's activated, great for clearing floodgates. Cordyceps is your ultra niche extender, but sadly, one of the weakest in the deck. During your standby phase, it lets you special summon 2 level 4 or lower Predaplants from your GY, but then locks you into only fusion summons for the turn. Technically, it gives access to Cobra if drawn, but the delay and fusion lock make it rarely worth running. Now, let's move on to the spells and traps. Predapractice is your main combo starter and easily one of the best cards in the deck. It lets you special summon a Predaplant from your hand and search any Predap card from your deck. This instantly gives you access to key pieces like Biblisp, Bufollicula, or even Predaprime Fusion while extending your board. However, it fusion locks you for the rest of the turn, so you'll have to plan your plays accordingly. Predaprime Fusion is your searchable super poly for Predaplants, and it's clutch for interrupting your opponent. It lets you fusion summon using your field monsters, and if you're making a fusion that needs 3 materials, you can even use your opponent's monsters. It's especially good for making Trifiovirudum, Dragostapelia, or Starving Venom Predapower Fusion Dragon during your opponent's turn. Super Polymerization is your ultimate board breaker and combo fixer, still amazing even in modern formats. It lets you discard a card to fusion summon using monsters on either field, and your opponent can't respond. You can dodge targeting effects, break boards, or push through negates by turning monsters into Dragostapelia or Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Ultra Polymerization is your go-to search off Darlingtonia Cobra, and it opens up crazy plays. It lets you pay 2000 LP to fusion summon using only monsters on the field, then special summon the materials from your GY. You can use this to extend into more combos or to reuse effects like Biblisp or Saraceniant. Predapruning is your in-archetype monster reborn for Predaplants. It lets you special summon any Predaplant from your GY and is searchable through your combo lines. It's great for bringing back boss monsters or recycling Scorpio and Chlamydosundu for more fusion plays. Predaponics is your second monster reborn, but it only works on level 4 or lower Predaplant monsters. It special summons from your hand or GY without targeting, and it's a soft once per turn, so you can use multiple copies. Great for bringing back Biblisp or Saraceniant, since their effects still work even if their effects are negated. Predaplast is your Predacounter spreader and graveyard protection all-in-one. It lets you reveal any number of Predap cards in your hand to place Predacounters on that many face-up monsters your opponent controls, changing their levels to 1. Also, if your Predaplant would be destroyed by battle, you can banish Predaplast from your GY instead. Predaplanting is your best trap and the only one worth running in most builds. It lets you send a Predaplant from your deck to the GY, usually Biblisp, then place Predacounters on all face-up monsters on the field. While in the GY, you can also banish it to pop any card when you fusion summon a dark monster. Both effects can go off in the same turn. Predaplanet is your field advantage tool for grinding games out. Every time a monster with a Predacounter leaves the field, Predaplanet lets you add a Predap card from your deck to your hand. This helps you maintain resources over time and keeps your combos going. However, it can be a bit slow and is only really useful if you've already established a board with Predacounters. And last but not the least, let's move on to the extra deck. Ambulomalides is your main combo piece and your go-to mid-combo fusion. It lets you add any Predap card from your deck or GY, and it contribute a monster with a Predacounter on the field, yours or your opponent's, to special summon a Predaplant from the deck. It's great for recycling used monsters, getting to Biblisp or Scorpio, and triggering combos off fusion summons like Dragostapelia. Dragostapelia is your main control tool and board boss. It lets you quick effect target a monster, place a Predacounter on it, then negate its effects while the counter stays on. It's super strong into combo decks and can shut down bosses like Baran or Kashtira Unicorn. However, monsters that leave the field for cost or chain out can still dodge the negation. Trifioverudum is your OTK machine and big super poly target. If fusion summoned, it can negate any extra deck monsters summoned, like Synchros or links that don't start a chain. It also gains ATK equal to all monsters with Predacounters, making OTKs super easy. If your opponent controls a monster with a Predacounter, it can also special summon itself from the GY, just without the negate effect. It needs 3 dark monsters to fusion summon, so it takes setup and commitment. Chimeraphlesia is your toolbox banisher and spell searcher. It can banish a monster on the field with a level less than or equal to its own, making it great versus combo decks. And when it's sent to the GY, it can search any fusion spell in your next standby phase. Perfect for sending off Chlamydosundu or fusing early to prep your next turn. Starving Venom Fusion Dragon is your classic Predaplant boss and your super poly target. It can gain ATK equal to a special summon monster and copy the effects of a level 5 or higher monster for the turn. If destroyed, it nukes all your opponent's special summon monsters. A great way to break boards or force OTKs out of nowhere. Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon is your field nuke and threat clear. It targets a monster to set its ATK to 0 and negate its effects, and when destroyed, it destroys all monsters on the field. It can then come back by banishing a level 8 or higher dark. Great as a board clear or to follow up against grindy decks. Starving Venom Predapower Fusion Dragon is your ultimate boss monster and best negate in the deck. Once per turn, it can negate any effect by tributing a monster with a Predacounter, even from your opponent's field. If it leaves the field by your opponent's card, it can revive any dark monster from your GY. The negation is only once per turn, but it resets if you summon it again. And it's always treated as a Predaplant, so it works with Predapruning. Starving Venomy Dragon is your another boss monster and pendulum tech. It can gain effects from any monster and permanently negates their effect plus drops their ATK/def. When destroyed, it moves to the pendulum zone where it reduces battle damage to 0 and spreads venomy counters to weaken your opponent's monsters. It's great in grind games since it can be pendulum summoned repeatedly. It takes effort to summon properly and doesn't synergize directly with Predacounters. Starving Venomy Lethal Dose Dragon is your upgrade Venomy boss monster for control-heavy builds. It once per turn negates all face-up opponent monster effects, and gains Venomy counters whenever cards go to the GY. In the Pendulum Zone, it places Venomy counters each turn to weaken your opponent's monsters. Very cool flavor and strong effect if resolved. It's too costly and not easy to summon, so it's more of a fun tech than a core pick. Guardian Chimera is your non-Predaplant boss for forcing interaction and clearing back row. When fusion summoned using a spell effect like Bufollicula, it can draw one card and destroy up to 2 cards non-targeting. A strong way to bait negates, crack boards, or draw into side cards mid-combo. However, if you don't fuse with a spell effect, you won't get any of its effects. Vert Anaconda is your only Link Predaplant combo tool. It sends any fusion spell from deck to GY and turns its effect live by copying it. Mainly used when Darlingtonia Cobra is bricked in hand or for running side engines like Branded Fusion or DP. However, Predapractice locks you out of this card early, and it's not needed in most modern builds. Garura and Mudragon are your generic super poly targets. Garura fuses with 2 monsters of the same type and different attributes, and when sent to the GY, you draw 1 card, perfect to punish mismatched boards or use with Biblisp for extra draws. While Mudragon fuses easily with 2 monsters of the same attributes and different types, and can declare 1 attribute then prevent monsters of that attribute from being targeted. Linkuriboh and Relinquished Anima are your Link 1 options to clear Biblisp off the field. They help trigger Biblisp's search effect and open up plays if you're stuck with small bodies. You can run either, both, or neither depending on your playstyle. However, they don't help with fusion plays directly, and they're not Predaplants, so they're not combo pieces. The main goal of Predaplant is to control the game by placing Predacounters to floodgate your opponent's monsters, or contact fuse your opponent by using your opponent's monsters as fusion material to gain access to your boss monsters. You need starting cards like Offrey Scorpio to search Darlingtonia Cobra and then get your fusion spell. Other great starters include Predapractice and Lone Fire Blossom to get your combos faster. You also need to set up your GY and Banished Zone with cards like Saracenian and Biblisp, which give you follow-up plays after fusion summoning. To secure your board, aim with Dragostapelia to negate effects and Trifiovirudum to stop extra deck summons. With these, you can lock down your opponent's board while pushing for big damage. Setting Predaplanning or Predaprime Fusion can also give you disruption during your opponent's turn. However, Predaplant also has its weaknesses. Predaplant is weak against decks like Eldlik, which can stop your setup before it starts. Virtual World can outpace you and block your graveyard plays with Shunshin. Sword Soul Tenyi builds boards with strong monster negates that interrupt your fusion combos. Flunderies avoids most of your plays by not using the extra deck. Drytron can ignore Predacounters and go off with ritual summons. Predaplant is also weak against cards like Summon Limit, which slows down your fusion summons hard. Skill Drain negates all your monster effects on the field, including your fusion bosses. Droll can stop your searches mid-combo, Shifter makes it hard to use the graveyard for fusion materials, and Ash Blossom can cut off your key combo starters like Offrey Scorpio or fusion spell searches. To deal with these threats, run Cosmic Cyclone or Twin Twisters to clear back row like Skill Drain or Summon Limit. Super Polymerization lets you fuse using your opponent's monsters with no response. Called by the Grave and Crossout Designator help counter hand traps like Ash and Droll. Use Dark Ruler no more to shut down big monster boards before you go into your fusion combos. And side in Forbidden Droplet to break through boards while keeping your effects live. To end the duel, go into Starving Venom Predapower Fusion Dragon after clearing the opponent's board. With Predacounters everywhere and fusion power on your side, you can make your game smoother. Just make sure you've played around Disruption. If you can avoid getting countered, you're gonna assure your flawless victory. Therefore, Predaplant is a deadly fusion-based deck that mixes plant synergy, dark monsters, and control mechanics all in one. Whether you're playing pure or mixing in tech engines, it's a fun and powerful deck that can handle just about any matchup, if played right. So if you're looking to get into modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is the perfect time to check out this amazing deck and compete in real tournaments. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like and subscribe to this channel. See you in the next video.